everybody. Just thought I'd post a little update what's going on with the Milanos. And I say Milanos now because if you've been watching, I did in fact buy another Milano. So this is my old Milano, calling it now, that I've had since I was about 16 years old. It's now actually sitting outside in the dark, which is why you can't see anything. Full of boxes of its own interior and wiring. Obviously the dash and stuff like that is still off. This is like not its final resting place, of course. I'm not going to scrap this car. I've just decided that at this point, in order to make the car the way I want it, it's just a lot of work. So we'll walk inside. You can see the new Milano. The new Milano I purchased locally. It was on the site bringatrailer.com, if anybody knows that site. It's a very good example Milano. It did in fact have collector's plates registered to it when I purchased it. The guy originally had only owned it for maybe about 8 months since coming from Seattle. And he originally listed on Craigslist for about $7,000 Canadian. At that time, I obviously couldn't pull that or justify that amount of money. So after a little while, he actually got bored of trying to sell it locally and put it on Bring a Trailer, where I just decided to bid on it, and ended up getting it for $3,600 or $3,500. I can't really remember exactly the amount now. US. So at the end of the day, I ended up getting a fantastic deal on this car. This is going to save me a heck of a lot of time. I mean, look at this car's interior. This is like probably one of the better Milano interiors that I've ever seen. The seats have just been reupholstered. The headliner was just reupholstered. It looks great. When I looked at this car when it was on Craigslist locally, I thoroughly inspected everywhere on it. I spent like an hour and a half looking everywhere, looking for rust. It's just not here. There is just no rust on this car. I'll flip open the trunk, which is why it is, of course, registered collector. As a bonus, I got these awesome factory Milano trunk boxes. I got a Milano toolkit with all the pieces actually inside, which is fantastic. Of course, the other side. So yeah, you can see it did come from Washington pretty recently. I debadged it. Those I do have them. I just figured I'd pull them off to see what was underneath them. So at this point, I still have a crazy amount of work to do. It's just a heck of a lot less rust repair. I still need to obviously finish my engine rebuild. That's kind of being pushed aside over the last little while because of the amount of money that I paid for this car. I'm going to need to pull the engine out of this car and put it into my old Milano outside. As well, I would like to take all of the expensive suspension modifications from my old Milano and put them into this new chassis as well. My old Milano, hey cat, get out of here, actually has upgraded Schenkel torsion bars, which are, I think they're 27 millimeters. I've got upgraded sway bars on the front and the rear, as well as polyurethane bushings everywhere on my car. This one actually does have Koni shocks as well as on the front and the rear, as well as some lowering springs on the rear as well. The front has been lowered. You can tell when the ride height is quite low. So there has been a couple modifications done. I mean, you can see that there is poly bushings on the sway bars and stuff. So there is a few things done actually to this as well. It's just that this car is just so clean everywhere. Like, that's the jacking point. Like, how many Milanos in Canada still have jacking points on their front? Like, it's just amazing. There's just no rust on this car. I was just underneath here because it does have an exhaust leak, which doesn't really matter because ultimately this exhaust is going to be moved to the other car when I sell it anyway. So I'll fix the rust and holes in the exhaust to make it sound as well before I sell it. I'm not going to sell a crappy car. Before I pushed my old Milano outside, I did actually fix the hole in the floor. Again, I'm not going to sell an unsafe, crappy car to somebody else. The hole was actually in that area there, and I did a really nice patch job on that before I put it outside. So that way, basically all I need to do is do a little bit of interior work. The cat desperately wants inside this car right now. Get out of here. So yeah, I have a lot more little things I'm going to do. Obviously, I'm going to, do the same modification. I'm going to put an oil cooler, into this car as well. Another difference, obviously, is that this car hadn't been in a major front-end collision like mine had. So all the wiring on this side of the car looks fantastic compared to what my car was. And also it has a straight rad cross member as well, which mine is definitely not straight, even though I've tried. So yeah, bought a new Milano so that I can save myself a heck of a lot of rust repair and work and end up with ultimately a better product in the end. That's something that I really, really want to drive and be proud of. The other Milano is still going to be a good car. It's just not going to be the level of car that I'd like to have. So eventually I'm going to sell it, and I'm sure it'll be a great car. It's just not going to be to this level.